You've made it back to Ultimate Nerdy, the home of epic crossovers and alternate realities. Get ready, because today's What If story is about to blow your mind.
The origins of the offenders.
Fuck you, Tony!
It all began at Demolition Ranch, where Brandon Herrera, Eli Double Tap, Baddie Streams, Cody, aka Donut Operator, Nick, aka Fat Electrician, Matt, aka Demolition Ranch, and Rich, aka Angry Cops, they had all gathered for a day of shooting guns and relaxing with their favorite beverage, an ice-cold White Claw. Unbeknownst to them, the villain Tony Gonzalez, also known as Two-Face Tony, had tampered with their batch of White Claws. Tony's goal was to create chaos by unlocking latent superpowers in those who drank the concoction. As the group enjoyed their day, something strange began to happen. They all passed out where they stood after drinking some of the White Claw. When they awoke, each discovered they had developed the touch of tism from the drinks and now had extraordinary unique abilities. Eli found he could move at incredible speeds, much like the Flash. But after arriving at his destination, he phased out for 5 minutes, unable to interact with anything. During this time, he took extremely detailed notes, always carrying a notepad in his pocket wherever he went. Baddie found he had Magneto's powers, but only for drywall. Unfortunately, using his power caused uncontrollable ejaculation, leaving him in a state of constant ecstasy. Cody found he could fly, but only while shouting racial slurs. His friends understood the reason for the taunts, but bystanders would often respond with gunfire as he flew overhead. Brandon had gained Deadpool's powers of regeneration. After dying, he would wake up in his bed with no memory of the events leading up to his death. His memories slowly returned about 15 minutes after drinking a White Claw. Strangely, he was often the cause of his own death every night. Nick had gained Professor X's powers but could only access them for 45 seconds after a moment of post-nut clarity. He always kept a bottle of chews in his pocket, a stack of dollar bills for any dancers nearby, and an app for activities that could support his ability. Matt found he could teleport, but only by sacrificing a kitten each time. To support his ability, he built an orphanage specifically designed to raise kittens. Underneath the orphanage, the group built a lab to study Brandon's abilities to be able to help Matt with the key to his powers. Rich now could become invisible, but had to continuously masturbate to maintain it. He wore special glasses that would display porn, a bottle of chews in his pocket, and gloves with built-in lotion dispensers to assist him in his abilities. Needing a base of operations, the group found an abandoned station that was connected to every train station in the world through an ancient underground portal. However, the portal only worked if someone was using it as a toilet. After much thought, because of all the special things they had now, they decided to name their hideout Autisma Hall. The rise of Two-Face Tony. Two-Face Tony was a master manipulator whose mind control powers only worked if he spoke as though he was a congressman. His greatest weapon was scumbag fuckers, this being his most potent attack, rendering everyone under his control until he stopped talking. Contaminating the White Claws was just the beginning. His plan was to create chaos, turning friends against each other and bending them to his will. The offenders knew they had to stop him before he wreaked even more havoc onto the world. The tragic battle. The team trained hard, learning to control their bizarre powers. Their first major encounter with Two-Face Tony took place in the city's downtown, where he was inciting a riot. "You scumbag fuckers should destroy this entire city, take over everything, make it your kingdom," he shouted through a megaphone. As the offenders engaged Two-Face Tony, Baddie used his drywall manipulation to protect civilians and try to create barriers. However, each use of his power left him increasingly vulnerable. In the heat of battle, Two-Face Tony unleashed his scumbag fuckers attack once more, causing confusion among the team. They turned on each other, fighting over a pack of White Claws, but there was only one can left. Seizing the opportunity, Tony urged other civilians to join the battle for the last can. In a desperate bid to save his friends, Baddie pushed his powers to the limit. Surrounded by debris, He pulled all the drywall to him, pinning the offenders in a makeshift cage. The strain was too much, and he collapsed, dying with a great smile of ecstasy on his face. Laughing at his victory, Tony fled the area, leaving the now-free civilians dazed and confused as to what had happened. The aftermath. The loss of Baddie was a heavy blow. The team mourned their friend, but knew they had to press on. They retreated to Autisma Hall to regroup. Determined to honor Baddie's sacrifice, they vowed to defeat Two-Faced Tony once and for all. Brandon cleaned and sorted his guns, lost in thought. Eli meticulously organized his cameras by color, model, and capabilities. Cody sat quietly, reflecting on the hostility that he was always faced with while trying to help anyone. To help himself focus, Matt started to plan his next video and trying to decide what they could shoot and destroy next. Rich paced in circles, yelling about the idiotic things Army privates were likely doing somewhere. And Nick sat in his favorite chair, ranting about the evils of communism.
Communism is the fucking dumbest thing ever, and if you don't agree, well then you are a fucking idiot.
Despite their loss, they knew Tony had to be stopped. The final showdown. With renewed determination, the team tracked Two-Faced Tony to his lair, where he hid among like-minded politicians. Brandon popped a white claw and began the fighting fiercely, his regenerative abilities giving him an edge of not caring about dying. With the speed Eli had, he was able to provide crucial reconnaissance. Cody's flight, though awkward, gave them aerial support and a distraction as well. And Nick's brief telepathy offered key insights into Tony's plans to become president with a special support team by his side. Matt's teleportation allowed for quick strikes, and by only having to have a single lab kitten in the bag, he was fully prepared for the fight. While Rich's invisibility enabled him to sabotage Tony's equipment and tie his shoestrings together. As they confronted Tony, the battle was intense. His mind control powers were formidable, but the team was ready this time. They used noise-canceling devices to block much of his word control tactics and launched a coordinated attack. Brandon's relentless assaults, Cody's aerial bombardments, and Matt's teleportation overwhelmed Tony's defenses. Eli located traps that were set by Two-Faced Tony, while Rich set his own traps for Tony. But in the end, it was Nick who delivered the final blow. After his last chew and 30 seconds on the app, he got his brief telepathic window to exploit Tony's deepest fear. He made Tony believe he was alone in an empty stadium, about to give a presidential concession speech with only his two-member Democrat support team, beside him, waiting to give him his consolation prize for losing. This decisive strike broke Tony's mental stability and sent him fleeing in fear of what prize he would get. A new era. With Tony defeated, the offenders returned to Autisma Hall, dedicating their victory to Baddie with a shot of tequila and a cold white claw. They would continue their mission, protecting the world from threats and ensuring Tony's legacy of chaos would not prevail. Autisma Hall, with its unique portal and the team's bizarre yet powerful abilities, became a symbol of resilience and unity for the whole world. As they sat around the table, listening to Nick rant about communism, Eli turned to Brandon and asked, "Do you think there are others like us?" Brandon simply replied, "We will see who comes to the table."
Fuck you, Tony!
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the unknown. If you enjoyed this story, follow Ultimate Nerdy and share it with all your fellow nerds. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and above all, stay nerdy.